I just need to feel like me again.
The hardest thing is being vulnerable. To sit in a room with someone and say, I'm failing. I may look like on the outside that I am kicking major ass, but I am failing.
As a mom and as a woman, that's what you do. You suffer in silence.
We wear our stress as our badge of honor and we just plow through. Your mindset now has to become that recovery is your superpower. If you want sustainable work, sustainable energy to be able to do what you do for a long time, your superpower has to become recovery. I am owning not abandoning myself. From here on out, I think we all need to not abandon ourselves.
I'm convinced there are entire conversations women should have been having years ago, from stress, hormones, nervous systems, our energy levels, and our health. But instead, most of us were taught to just push through it or smash it down. So today, we're going to have these conversations because I am joined by Dr. Shannon Burke with Curis Functional Health. Shannon, I am so thrilled to have you here today and to have these conversations.
Yes, thank you, Kristen, so much for having me. What you're doing is so important because finally we are having these conversations out loud with no judgment and no stereotype around it. And it's wonderful. So thank you.
I'm able to say anything here because I can edit it out, but I don't think I will. This is going to be a real conversation. What I love about your perspective is that your business and your journey sits at the intersection of all of this. How would you sum up the last 25 years of both building your practice and finding your passions within it?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. So 26 years ago, I became a chiropractic physician. And at that time, I was really doing more nervous system work musculoskeletally. 70% of my patients are female. And so we were all kind of coming up in the ranks together. And what was kind of sad for me was more and more women were coming in anxious, overwhelmed, on anxiety meds, on depression meds, and I needed to kind of find a way to help them. They would come to me for more women's health type things. And as I was going through my own anxiety at the time, I did some deep dives and my practice started to turn toward women's health. Well, then menopause hit. And in my own journey, and I'm watching my patients go through their journey, it became so glaringly obvious how little knowledge we have, how little knowledge the physicians were given because of the Women's Health Initiative in 2002, and how stalled development and research and progress was in women's health. It was actually really eye-opening. And so it really called me to get into this movement, find a way not only to heal myself, heal my patients, and just really start doing a more comprehensive look at their healthcare. So it's been wonderful. It's been quite a journey. And I owe my patients a lot for coming up through the ranks with me and going through it with me.
It takes a lot to be able to make that appointment, to take that step forward and say, I'm done living this way. I want to get better. I want to feel better. And a lot of us are saying, I want to feel like the old me. It feels as though I've gotten lost and I don't need the 20-year-old me in the way I looked and felt then. I just need to feel like me again. Is that a pattern that you hear? And what's that general tone when you're seeing a patient for the first time?
Yes. Honestly, the hardest thing is being vulnerable. The generations before us were just kind of told, deal with it. This is what you got to do. And they did not set a good example for us to dig deeper and be better and look for more solutions for ourselves. And so I think some women still come in having a really hard time being vulnerable. We're trying to live up to this unrealistic expectation, right? That we are working and we may be raising kids and we may be taking care of parents and we are hitting it so hard and have all these balls in the air that to sit in a room with someone and say, I'm failing. I may look like on the outside that I am kicking major ass, but I am failing. And that vulnerability is really, really hard. And so, one of the things that I just try every day is to allow patients that space to just be vulnerable and say how you're really feeling because we're all suffering, but we're suffering in silence. And that's kind of the hard part.
I'll never forget raising when my son was really small and I kept wanting to put a blanket on him. I kept wanting to
Yeah.
to do something, and a nurse gave me the advice. She said, "Babies don't suffer in silence. If
Aw.
something's not right, they will tell you." I thought
Yes.
that's so strange to me because as a mom and as a woman, that's what you do. You suffer in silence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We wear our stress as our badge of honor, and we just plow through. And now, like, midlife is a time where our nervous system says to us, that doesn't fly anymore. Your body cannot do that anymore, and you will see the physical consequences because of it. So we need to flip the script.
I want to know why, because mentally I know I'm different. I feel
Yeah,
different. I'm reacting things differently. Talk me through some of the physiology.
for
Why is
sure.
my nervous system saying, is it changing? Have
Yes.
I just worn it out? Or is there something more physiological that's going on with it?
Yeah. So here's kind of what happens. The changes start to happen so gradually, right? It's not an instant switch where all of a sudden you're in menopause. It's such a gradual transition over 7 to 10 years. And the problem with that, we as people in business who are working, who are leaders, who are managers, the problem with that is it starts to happen so gradually that we start beating ourselves up. We don't recognize it at first. We're like, why can't I keep up? Why do I not give a crap anymore? Why can't I keep juggling all the 50 balls in the air that I usually juggle? And we start to beat ourselves up about it, not realizing that physiologically everything in our body is changing. Every system. I think what people don't understand is estrogen is everywhere in your body. It's in your brain, it's in your heart, it's in your gut, it's in your, female reproductive organs. It's everywhere. And so as these gradual changes are happening, when we don't notify what they are, we're just beating ourselves up, wearing ourselves down, we're getting frustrated, we're getting depressed, and we look internally and start to like negate ourselves, right? It's like beating yourself up for your hair going gray. Right? It's like, why am I such an idiot? How did I let my hair go gray? Your body is changing through the normal course that it's supposed to change. But when these changes happen, we just beat ourselves up. And so physiologically, what's happening as estrogen comes down, right? Our brain chemistry literally changes. We can't handle stress as well as we could. We can't make decisions as quickly as we could. It's literally a chemical change. Progesterone. Progesterone is supposed to be our calming hormone, right? Help us rest and digest, help us get us out of fight and flight. Well, that's tanking too, right? So as progesterone is coming down, now we can't calm ourselves. Now our anxiety is high. Now we can't sleep at night. Now we're like wired and tired, right? That kind of thing. And then everybody has heard about cortisol, the stress hormone. So, cortisol, just how our body has a circadian rhythm, right? When it's dark at night, we want to sleep. When it's light in the morning, we want to be awake. Cortisol has that same kind of timing rhythm. And what we're seeing in the labs, the lab work, blood work, it's not necessarily that everybody's walking around with high cortisol. Our cortisol timing is off. So it's high at night when we're supposed to be sleeping, and it's low in the morning when we're supposed to be energized. And so the whole rhythm of it is off. So many things are happening and changing in our bodies that we have to kind of step back, give ourselves a little grace, and go, okay, let's find some really good tools, some really good strategies to get better at this.
There's got to be a way to make
Yes.
some it's all happening, but I don't have to accept it. Same way I don't have to accept
No,
that
you do
gray
not.
hair either. I found a gray heat salon. We know how to fix that one if we so choose. Yes, we
Yes,
do.
exactly.
As someone walks in and has that, I'm tired. I love that wired and tired. And
Yeah.
it could be the cortisol. It could be my nervous system. It could be
Yes.
any number of things. They're so intertwined.
Yes.
Where's once I've said I'm done with this being the new way of being or the state of being me, where do you start?
Good question. And I'm so glad that you mentioned how intertwined everything is, because the false assumption is that everybody needs hormones. Right. And that's really a wrong assumption because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need other things to regulate your nervous system. So, where we start is we look at all of your symptoms. We do a full comprehensive questionnaire on where in your life are you not feeling like yourself? Where is it showing up? And then we take really comprehensive blood work and we look for patterns. We look for patterns of what is the blood work telling us that the symptoms are showing up with and who is running the show. And it's really funny because very, very often it's not a hormone deficiency is running the show. Very, very often it's stress, a nervous system that's caught in fight and flight, and it's that dysregulation that's really running the show. And when we get that handled, everything else kind of downstream tends to fall in line. So when we get to the hormone component, you need less. You don't need as much because you have regulated the nervous system and the stress and everything that is driving it before that, so that everything else kind of settles down smoothly. So unless you look at what are the big drivers that are causing you to show up the way you're showing up, then people are just throwing hormone at it, thinking everything's going to help because you're just throwing hormone at it. But you're missing the big picture and how everything is so interrelated.
I remember seeing this Oprah Winfrey quote that says, and it's part of an advertisement for hormones, and it
Yep.
says, I got the patch and the grass was greener, the sky
Oh.
was bluer. And I finally convinced a doctor, I'm past 52, just give me the darn patch, please. And I remember thinking, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, the sky's going to be bluer, the grass is going to be greener, and all I did after 2 days is finally wake up without night sweats. That was it. That's all that was happening. So going into the stress, I still have high levels of stress. My nervous system. Let's
Yeah.
double click on that a little bit and talk
Yeah.
about the role that stress and how our central nervous system is central for a reason.
Yes. So a lot of people have heard about the vagus nerve, right? So vagus nerve is a nerve that gets talked about a lot because it's a nerve that goes all the way from our brain, literally all the way down to our gut. Okay. So vagus nerve is the reason we get what's called an anxious stomach, right? Because it literally is the brain to gut connection. And so when that vagus nerve is not stimulated in the right way, right? That's how symptoms show up sometimes in our nervous system. We'll get nervous stomach. We'll get the fight and flight. We'll get the heart palpitations. We'll get all of those things, right? And so when your nervous system is in overdrive, then that releases our brain chemicals and the hormone cortisol, which is our stress hormone, to then start getting off in its timing. And so it's a kind of a domino effect, right? And so one of the great natural things that we can do to help reverse this is vagus nerve stimulation, or what we call vagal toning. You might have heard the term vagal toning, but it's things that you can do to get out of fight and flight, calm your nervous system, lower your cortisol, settle down your heart rate, and really get grounded. And what we've seen in all the studies is that when we get grounded like that, then our blood sugar comes down, our glucose levels come down, our insulin resistance comes down, and everything sort of starts to balance out. So it's a big part of the picture. So a lot of the work I do is just teaching people how to do vagal toning, how to calm down your nervous system.
Is this something that I can do during the day in the office when I can feel that anxiety, I can feel the gut and everything? Or is this something where it's a quiet time at home? What are we looking at for vagal toning here?
What's hilarious about it, it is the easiest stuff. It is stuff a lot of us have heard a million times, but we just never take the time to do. So a lot of easy things, right? First thing in the morning, a great way to reset your cortisol and get it on a good rhythm is to get sunlight. Just get sunlight in the first 30 minutes. If you're in a cold environment, you sit by a window that has light coming through and you get light into your body. It sets your circadian rhythm and tells your cortisol levels, now is time to get on track. Now we want to do tasks. So it's a really good start to the day. Everyone has heard about breathing, right? There was a giant study on anxiety and nervous system, and it showed that breathing, just breathing, was one of the biggest tools that you can use. And there's many different breathing techniques. There's 4-7-8 breathing, there's box breathing, there's all these techniques. All you have to remember is make your exhale a lot longer than your inhale. So you inhale, you hold that good oxygen into your body, let it disperse through your cells, hold it as long as you can, and you make your exhale as long as you can. And it literally resets your nervous system like that. Like you can do it on a dime anywhere, walking into a meeting, going to the bathroom break, anything throughout your day, you can stop and breathe, right? But one of my favorites is grounding. Have you heard of grounding?
I have not.
Okay. So here's grounding, and here's why I'm going to end up in a funny farm. So grounding is when you go barefoot outside on grass, on sand, on dirt, anywhere outside on the earth, right? Barefoot. So we've known for a long time that when you're grounding, it calms your nervous system. Well, now we know a completely different level of that, which is mind-blowing. So we know that trees talk to trees, right? Trees talk to trees through the underfungal system, right? So a scientist did a study on, okay, what happens if a person is grounding outside, feet on the earth, touching a tree? And the calming effects of our nervous system are like tenfold. So the whole like go hug a tree or tree hugger, it's actually a real thing. Like your nervous system calms down so immensely when you are grounding and hugging a tree and holding a tree and kind of feeding into that system of nature. It's unbelievable. So I laugh that like my neighbors are just going to be calling the funny farm because they're like, there she is hugging a tree.
Oh, I can see it now. Everyone walking their dog in my community in the morning as I'm down on the corner, the only tree that exists, barefoot, soaking in the rays, and
Happy
just
as
hugging
pie.
that tree and saying, no, doggy, today, right now, this is my tree. You go find your own.
And you'll be happy as can be. So yeah, it's little things, right? We think it's this big, giant changes that we need to make. There's 50 little things that you can do. There's so many. And so you just got to start. You just got to commit to yourself and start.
And I've heard a couple of questions. I've heard water. Everyone's always saying, drink at least 75 ounces of water a day. Is that just because it's going to help my skin glow better other than all the sweats?
Yeah.
Or does that have to do with my nervous system? And
so what's important as far as water and even electrolytes go, right? Couple things. So obviously water helps us get rid of toxins in our body, get rid of inflammation in our bodies, right? Electrolytes are really good because we are dehydrated in midlife and menopause. We're just dehydrated, right? Everything's drying up. And so all of that electrolyte refilling and water refilling is really good for all of that. But it allows our digestive system to work better, right? So we talked about earlier, your gut is your second brain, right? And a lot of our nervous system sits in that gut. So if we can get digestion flowing through better, if we can get everything just moving through our bodies better, we metabolize our supplements and vitamins better through water. But almost more importantly in our nutrition is protein. Right? Like the studies now are coming out so strong about how women need muscle for longevity. And we just do so much better in midlife and in menopause with muscle. And we need protein for muscle. And so in nutrition wise, protein is one of the very best things you can do.
let's just go on an assumption here. If I'm eating lots of protein,
Yep.
I'm getting my sunlight, I'm grounding, tree, grass, sand, otherwise, and I'm doing my breathing, I can go back to being that high-performing, high-powered business owner that I've always been, and I don't have to change anything. I'm now fixed, right?
Nope.
What's the easy fix here, Shannon?
I know. So here's the reality of midlife, right? Here's the reality of menopause and midlife. So our bodies cannot and should not process things the way we did when we were 35, right? And so what happens when we try to do that and we try to push through and we try to just keep going, right? We just shut down. It just rebounds right back at us, and we shut down and we get pain and we get anxiety and we get, it just rebounds. And so you have to implement in your life these intentional things that you're going to do, right? So that you can build capacity and you can grow and you can expand in your workforce. And you can put in these rest periods. It's not that we are not capable. We are so capable. It's that we are not capable of high stress things back to back to back to back to back without recovery built in. So you have to intentionally build in this recovery, because if not, you're just going to keep running into that wall and running into that wall. It's just a necessity. You've heard the term self-care is not selfish. Not only is self-care not selfish, it is a necessary infrastructure that we need to be resilient, to grow, to allow more into our lives and have bigger capacity and continue to work the way we want to work. So we have to build it in. It's just when we were in our 30s, we didn't have that need to build it in like we do now.
You said recovery. I go to the nutritional supplemental market, multi-billion-dollar market,
Yeah.
based off of correctly fueling our muscles. And I'm doing ultra marathons and any physical activity.
Yeah.
There was a regime afterwards. If I did not take care of my muscles, if I did not let them recover,
Yep.
we built in recovery days with our training, and
Yep.
I didn't get the protein, do the supplements, and do whatever they needed, those scar tissue would build up around those things and they would seize up, and I was out for the
Yes.
season.
Oh, for sure.
I was done.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what's funny about that? So that's all physical recovery, right? You need physical recovery. You need sleep. You need time off. You need to, stretch and all that stuff and then nutrition. But people miss out on the emotional recovery that they need. One of the best things I had read about this, I love the analogy, is let's say you're walking around and you're holding a 50-pound weight on one side, right? And so you're holding it and your body's leaning to that side because you got 50 pounds on that side. The only way to balance out and right yourself is to put the same amount of weight on the other side, right? So every day we are weighing down with physical demands, emotional demands. Our lives are so busy in such a bad way that we're constantly, right? The stresses are constantly pulling us to one side, but we really don't pay enough attention to how to emotionally balance ourselves out. And the way you do that is implementing intentional things throughout your day, little micro mini breaks throughout your day that you can right yourself, because that's when we see symptoms. That's when we see breakdown, when we don't right ourselves, not only physically, but emotionally.
And it's just 15-minute rest break. There's a reason why we build rest breaks into. There's a
Oh
reason
my
why
God.
children have
Totally.
recess.
Totally. And can I say, what's also underestimated is sleep? Sleep should be treated like the biggest asset you have, because it is. We cannot expect a nervous system to function at a high level, to lead, to manage, to microtask, and to multitask if it is not given enough recovery overnight. We just can't. And so sleep hygiene becomes so important in midlife. Sleeping should be one of the easiest things ever. And in midlife, it's one of the hardest. It's one of the hardest. Every patient I have, they either cannot fall asleep or cannot stay asleep. Those are the two things. No one comes in and says they're sleeping great. And so sleep hygiene becomes so important and such a tool for how you function the following day. And so we do a lot of teaching on sleep hygiene and just how to maximize your sleep.
What would be, for those who are either falling asleep or like we wake up in the middle of the night and tough time getting back to sleep, what are some of your top suggestions for that?
Yeah. So usually that can't stay asleep is that your mind is racing, right? Mind is racing, can't shut the mind off, all that kind of stuff. So one thing that tells us is we have to work on cortisol timing, because if the rhythm of cortisol is off, it's supposed to be low at night so your body and your brain can prepare for sleep. But for people like that, it's high at night. So we need to flip the script on cortisol and work on getting that timing right. But we also need to empty our brain. So I tell patients, right, do a brain dump. Write everything you're thinking about on a piece of paper right before bed and get it out of your brain. Because the studies show if you just release it out of the brain, just like that, writing it down, getting it out, you let it go. You don't take it to bed with you, right? We make the last half hour before sleep exactly the same every night. You dim the lights in your house, you get away from your screens, you have a nice tea, you do things that tell your brain, I am preparing for sleep. I've dumped everything I'm thinking about out on a piece of paper. I've put that to the side. I'm preparing my brain for sleep. And when you get used to that habit, your body actually starts going, oh, okay, now I'm supposed to rest. And so we work a lot on that. There is, of course, a role for estrogen and progesterone to help us, balance all these things out. But I want to make sure people understand that's not your only tool. You have so many tools to help yourself along the way. And there's small little things that just take commitment to yourself.
On the night routine, I do have a question. I'm almost afraid to ask, depending on what your answer may be, that glass of wine.
I know.
That calming, soothing glass of wine
It is
before
so
bed.
screwing you over.
Come on, lie to me, Shannon.
I wish I had better news for you because I feel the same, right? I would love a nice red glass of wine at the end of the night. And of course, in moderation, right? You're not going to deprive yourself for something that makes you really, really happy and relaxed. But for sleep patterns, it does throw everything off. Alcohol in general is a disruption of sleep, right? So we want people to go more toward things like magnesium, right? That's an all natural muscle relaxer, an all natural prep for sleep, right? I'd rather have people turn like that. They have teas now that are muscle relaxant teas that have all the good stuff, valerian, kava kava, all the good relaxing stuff. So once in a while, of course, you're going to have to do it, but the alcohol does interrupt the sleep pattern for sure. It stinks.
Well, I'm wrapping my head around. I know I don't feel like I used to. My brain doesn't always work as quickly as it used to.
Right.
And now I've got my cortisol's off, my hormones, my stress, my nervous system. All of these. So now what? I mean, those were my superpowers, being able to stay up half the night, being able to go out and meet girlfriends and then show up to work the next morning. And I could grind through anything. I could pull 24-hour sessions. That was my superpower, Shannon.
Your mindset now has to become that recovery is your superpower. Really, truly. Yeah. Because if you want sustainable work, right? You want sustainable energy. You want to be able to do what you do for a long time, for many, many years. Your superpower has to become recovery, nutritional recovery, nervous system recovery, right? Sleep recovery. We have to really focus on those things that are going to allow us any kind of sustainability that we want during the day. It's just the truth.
Looking at how these all come together, and you said, look, hormones aren't always the answer.
Yeah.
Same time, I'm seeing women early and earlier going in perimenopause.
Yes.
And the suggestions of you really X number of years before you hit menopause, you may want to consider hormones for any number of reasons.
Yep.
And then you've got the day it happens, you're menopause, and then there's postmenopause. Where do you feel hormones really play a role in that? And how early should someone have the conversation with the doctor and find a doctor that's willing to have that conversation regardless of the number on our chart?
So I think, We're seeing earlier and earlier because we can go all the way back to we're seeing earlier and earlier girls starting their initial menses, right?
Mhm.
So all of that is starting earlier. And so it just seems like everything kind of has an earlier start. Um, so we know now, I want women not to be afraid of hormones. I have a lot of women who come in still very much afraid of taking hormones. The reason that is in 2002, the Women's Initiative did a study on hormone replacement therapy. It's called the Women's Health Initiative of 2002. Back then, this study came out saying that all women should be off hormone replacement therapy because it may cause breast cancer and heart disease. And honestly, the women's health world freaked out. Doctors pulled their patients off of it. Patients were scared. They got off of it, right? It was kind of a big deal and halted not only progress in women's health and hormone replacement therapy, halted research, halted progression in this whole arena. Doctors were afraid to even give it. So we can't hold anything against the physicians because I literally sat and watched a panel of gynecologists 6 months ago say we were not given this education in our medical school curriculum because of that initiative. Everybody was scared to teach it, to study it, to talk about it. Finally, that study was discredited. And now it came to show that the study was all inclusive of every woman in the world should not be using it, right? It was too generalized. And so it was discredited. So finally, our generation and hopefully generations under us are understanding that hormones are not scary. They definitely play a role in our brain health against Alzheimer's, in our health, heart health. Everybody knows heart disease is the number one killer of women. Number one killer. So estrogen protects our heart. It protects our brain from dementia and Alzheimer's. It protects our bodies so much. So thank God the study was discredited and now we can move forward not being afraid of hormone therapy. Where it comes in lies in your symptoms. So we try to treat by symptom and we try to look at what's driving this train to get your symptoms to where they are, and how much hormone do we need to bring in with all the other things that we're going to bring in for nervous system regulation and stress regulation to bring it all together so we're looking at your whole body comprehensively. You understand that when you take an estrogen and progesterone blood test, all you're measuring is what is it on that Tuesday at 10 o'clock that you took the test, right? It's kind of a limited information. So we have to look at the body as a whole, look at symptoms, how much are they affecting your life, and what can we do? If someone goes into true early menopause, we need to get on the hormone replacement quickly because they are really at risk for heart disease, brain dysfunction, all that kind of stuff. So there is definitely a role for it, and there should be a role for it because it's healthy and it's good for you. But we also want to look at everything else to tie it all together so that we're not just only looking at the labs. You know what I mean?
When going through that from someone, I've done that in the past year,
Yep.
gone through the process. Do you recommend going to a specialist for that? I was seen by more of a generalist, military healthcare, and his symptoms were you're a year and a half past the average age. You got night sweats. You've got all these things. Let me do the calculation. Here's the patch that I'm going to give you. I start asking questions about where do I put it on? How often do I change? He goes, oh, you're going to have to ask someone else for that. I know how to do the calculation. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, internet. That's I watch videos. I ask questions.
chat. Where do I put this patch?
So many questions, which, by the way,
It's so disheartening to me. I'm going to say, though, I'm always going to stick up for the physicians in regard to so much education was not given to these physicians. I'm really telling you that's the truth. So have some grace with them, but also be your own champion. So there is a designation that I have and many of physicians have, which is called a certified menopause specialist, basically. We have the training to deep analyze the labs, deep analyze the symptoms, pull it together, and then help the patient develop a plan that fits what's authentic to them. Because a lot of patients will come to me and say, I want to go as natural as I can. They may be a little fearful. They may have breast cancer in their family history. They may be a little fearful. So they'll start off by saying, let's start off as natural as we can. We always have the hormones in our back pocket that we can amp up, but let's see how good we can get it, right? And then we can amp up with the hormones if we have to. But yes, there are definitely menopause specialists. Most of them come in the form of OB-GYNs, physicians like me that are in natural healthcare or alternative healthcare that have gone the extra mile and done the extra education. But new doctors coming out now out of medical school, they're getting more in their curriculum. They're getting more knowledge. You're seeing how it's everywhere in media. And I'm so happy because it's becoming a topic we can talk openly about. Women can walk in their doctor's office and say, here's what I need. Here are my questions. And if they don't feel like they're getting the right answers, please use your own strength to go somewhere else and find someone who fits you, right? So yes, we are out there. The education is only getting bigger, more vast. It's wonderful.
Do you have any resources that you go to or that you recommend to patients to read? Because it's unlimited out there right now. And
Yes.
especially after that study, it's really tough to
Yes.
see the forest through the trees and which one is going off of old false information, off of
Yes.
wives' tales. Where are some good resources?
Yes. So NAMS, NAMS, that's the organization that certifies all of us as menopause
Okay.
specialists, right? So NAMS is a wonderful resource, not only for learning about what's going on in your body, finding practitioners. It's just a well of resources on current, really good education. Second to that is just finding a really good physician that you trust, that you feel like really sees you. And I think we're at a great moment in time where we are becoming our own champions, and we no longer have a tolerance for a physician who's sitting in the room typing on their laptop and never makes eye connection with us, right? I can't tell you the number of times in the last 3 years that I've literally changed physicians because my entire engagement with them, they never sat and looked me knee to knee in the eye. Like, we're at a time now where women are demanding, like, see me, hear me, understand what I'm saying. Don't chalk me up to, you're just going through the change. You just got to deal with it. No, I don't. I can actually thrive in this. I just got to find the right person who's going to help me get there. So be your own champion and seek out that person that really sees you. That's so important to me. I really want women to get away from this, well, I just did it because they said so, and they just told me it's the time in my life and I got to deal with it. No, keep uncovering every rock, keep trying every physician until you find somebody who you feel like really gets you.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
not about surviving it.
No,
Let's go
because no.
thrive through it and find our new superpower.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's so wonderful when you do, because look at all the good things that midlife brings us, right? Like, we are comfortable in our skin. We know who we are. We have this authenticity now to ourselves where we're no longer running to prove stuff. We're like doing things to lead, to put a hand down to the women under us, to pull them up, right? Like, there's so much power in midlife that, like, you owe it to yourself to dial it in and get it figured out so you feel really, really good, because we have so much to give, especially in business, right? We have so much to give. So I really hope women don't get discouraged and they just keep trying until they figure it out.
And one of my favorite ways of doing that is having these conversations.
Yes.
Find other women. That's where a lot of this came out of is we got groups of women together, and these are where the conversations were
Oh my
going,
god.
not
Yeah.
business conversations, but we were sharing resources. We were sharing experiences. Brought it
Yes.
up at a PTA brunch, and I got a new recommendation for how in the world do I get this adhesive that the patch leaves behind because nothing is working.
I
Got a
love it. I
recommendation for
love
stuff
it.
off of Amazon. I was like, "Finally, because 'cause I've just got this
Well,
sticky," and someone said, "Well, that's because my generation, I'd wake up in the morning and it was on my forehead. They had to make
right.
it stickier."
Yes, and here's the thing. I have 2 daughters. And so you talk about, like, how did I get here just in my career, right? Like, I feel such a calling to make sure by the time my daughters, 20 years from now, are where I'm at, right? By the time they're going through it, the stigmas are gone. It's open conversation. We have the education, we have the tools. Like, what we're doing right now is changing the landscape of my daughters, the women behind us, right? The generations behind us in such a good way. So, I mean, I hope that we have these conversations and women are comfortable telling each other what they're going through, giving each other resources, right? Like that's changing the generations under us. That's huge.
So what's the one piece of advice you would give someone who's not quite midlife yet but you said it's little by little. It's like it evolves. It's not just you
Yeah.
wake up one day and, you know,
Yeah.
woohoo, I've gone through puberty. I'm 6 inches taller. It's little by little. Or someone in midlife, what advice would you give?
Yeah. So I think we push so hard because we feel like we have a lot to prove and we're watching everybody else's highlight reel and we feel like we've got to charge and charge and charge. And I'm here to tell you, no one has it figured out. No one has life figured out. Everyone every day is waking up, doing their best, making big mistakes, falling apart at the seams, trying to keep it together. We're all trying to do that. So, number one, I would say give yourself so much grace. You are exactly enough, exactly how you are, and give yourself grace. And I think the younger generations get this a little bit more than our generation. Our generation was just taught nose to the grindstone, work, fight. And now we're all suffering. But like, I want the younger generations to know we don't have it figured out. Some of us are just better at looking like we do, but everybody's growing every day. You should be evolving and growing every day. Everybody's just figuring it out. So give yourself grace, allow yourself, space and time and all of that for everything to evolve, and then be your own champion, right? If someone's not giving you answers, you look in another direction, and you just be a champion for yourself until you find what you need.
For you personally, Shannon, what brings you joy and fulfillment?
Wow. I think what brings me joy, well, God, that's a tough one. I think for me, I need every day a passion and a purpose. And so I look to my daughters, my girls, and they give me, woo, I'm getting a little teary eyed. They give me passion and purpose to just show up as the best human being I could show up every day. So it's really that. And making sure it's easier for them, it's easier for their generation, and they see the value in who they are, no matter what they're going through. That brings me joy. If I could show up for somebody and bring light when they are in darkness, right? That's true healing. That's joy. So I owe my patients a lot. Look at what happened to me. I owe my patients a lot, my family a lot, because to see them struggling and to have any small amount of role in what makes them not struggle or what makes them lighter or what makes them brighter, to have even the smallest role in that is the biggest honor and privilege. So that brings me
Wow,
joy.
wow, they're lucky.
You made me cry so
All
much.
of them. You're so lucky.
Yes, very, very lucky.
What are you owning today?
Woo! That's an easy one. I am owning not abandoning myself. Yeah. I think we as women have spent decades pouring into other people. If we give ourselves the energy, the love, the commitment, the support that we have given other people throughout the decades, we might actually one day love ourselves. It's a hard thing, but I am working on not abandoning myself by just being true to what I need, right? Setting boundaries, owning and keeping my peace, and just giving myself the love and energy and commitment that I gave everybody else for the last 2-3 decades. And the hope is that one day you really love yourself. I'm not there yet. It's a work in progress. I think it's a work in progress for everybody, right? To really love yourself and not let yourself down, because we're so used to putting ourselves last. So
I just want a podium at this point.
that's
Can I
what
get
I'm
first, second, or I don't even need first. Can I just get second or third and get myself on the podium?
Exactly, right? Like we are the gum on the bottom of the shoe for so many years, right? And we think we're doing it out of love, right? This is what a good friend should be, or a good mother should be, or a good spouse should be. We think we're doing out of love, but throughout the whole thing, we're just getting lower and lower on the totem pole until we're just the gum under the shoe. So, yes. So from here on out, right? From here on out, I think we all need to like just not abandon ourselves and just really be vocal about what you need and stand up for yourself, right? I mean that to me is true healing. That to me is true leadership. I mean that's where we need to get to.
Finding the voice. Here's who I am. Here's what I want. Here's what I
Yes.
need. And here's
Yes.
what I'm going to go get.
Yes.
Y'all get
Yes.
on board
And
or get off the train.
Unapologetically with no guilt. Drop the guilt, drop the apologies, and just be true to yourself. Yeah, that's, I think, the best thing you can do.
Shannon, I am awestruck. I
We
am
went in so many directions.
I'm awestruck. And I have to say, thank you for joining me today on She Owns It. And to anyone listening, I'm going to say if today sparked a new idea. Today absolutely sparked a new idea.
I
It
hope
gave
so.
you something to take action on. Don't let it sit. Share it, use it, and keep growing. And until next time, lead with confidence, lead with that clarity, and lead with ourselves first.